In a time when gods and humans walked the earth together, there was one deity whose strength, skills, and wisdom shaped the very destiny of mankind. Ogun, the mighty god of iron, war, and craftsmanship, was more than just a blacksmith. He was the god who would forge not only weapons, but the future of the first warriors. But his story begins with a pact, one that would set the stage for a battle between gods and men, and a creation that would define the path of civilization forever. So, sit back, because this is African Myths Unveiled. In the land of the Yoruba, long before the first kings or cities stood tall, there lived a mighty god who was known by many names. To his followers, he was Ogun, the divine blacksmith, the creator of all tools and weapons, and the fierce god of war. His workshop, hidden deep within the thick forests, was filled with the sounds of hammers on anvils, flames roaring from forges, and the sharp scent of molten metal. Ogun's craftsmanship was unmatched. His weapons, powerful and unyielding, were said to possess spirits of their own. Each blade, each spear, each tool was not merely forged, but brought to life by Ogun's divine touch. But Ogun wasn't just a creator of tools. He was a warrior, a hunter, a god who stood at the intersection of creation and destruction. His strength was feared, and his wisdom respected by both gods and mortals alike. Yet, for all his power, Ogun had one problem. He was alone. The other gods of the Yoruba pantheon were far removed from the mortal world. They lived in the sky, in the waters, and in the earth, ruling from afar. But Ogun's domain was the forge, and it was there that he longed for a worthy companion to share in the work, someone who could wield the weapons he crafted and fight beside him in the endless wars of the divine world. One day, while Ogun worked alone at his anvil, a visitor arrived, Orunmila, the god of wisdom and one of the most respected of all the Yoruba gods. Orunmila, with his deep knowledge of the unseen world, gazed upon the mighty Ogun and knew what he sought. "Ogun," Orunmila spoke, his voice echoing through the clearing. "You have created tools that could bring empires to their knees, yet you are alone in your battle. Why do you toil in silence when you could have warriors to wield your creations?" Ogun, lifting his hammer from the forge, paused and looked at Orunmila. "I am a god of iron," he said, "but even iron cannot fight alone. I need the warriors who will use what I create. Only then will my work have meaning." Orunmila nodded, a knowing smile crossing his face. "There is a pact to be made, Ogun, a pact between gods and men. You shall forge not only weapons, but warriors. They shall bear your tools and fight your wars. In return, you shall receive a reward beyond anything you have ever imagined." And so, the pact was born, a pact that would give rise to the first warriors of the Yoruba people. Ogun, with Orunmila's guidance, would teach the mortals the art of smithing and the ways of the warrior. They would forge weapons of great power and fight in battles that would determine the fate of nations. In exchange, Ogun would receive not only the reverence of mortals, but their loyalty, for those who wielded his weapons would forever be bound to him. Ogun's hands, calloused and strong, worked tirelessly at his forge, creating the first sword, the first spear, the first shield. With each strike of his hammer, he shaped not only the weapons, but the very future of the world. His pact with humanity was set in stone, and the first warriors were born, men and women who would rise up to challenge the gods themselves. But this pact, as powerful as it was, would not come without its challenges. For even the mightiest of gods can find themselves in conflict with the world they have shaped. As Ogun's warriors marched into battle, they would soon learn that the gods they had once admired from afar could be just as dangerous as the enemies they faced in the mortal realm. And Ogun, the god of war and creation, would find that even a pact forged in the fires of his divine forge could be tested in ways he had never imagined. The forge burned bright with the flames of Ogun's passion as the god shaped the first weapons of the Yoruba warriors. With every strike of his hammer, each weapon seemed to pulse with divine energy. The swords gleamed with a fiery edge, the spears pointed as though they were alive, and the shields shimmered with the promise of protection. Ogun, having crafted these tools of war, now called upon the mortals to wield them. In the villages scattered across the earth, word of Ogun's divine pact spread like wildfire. The people, knowing that a new age of warriors had dawned, eagerly gathered to learn the craft of the blacksmith. Ogun, always a god of action, did not waste time with words. He led by example. He took the strongest and most capable of the mortals and taught them the art of warfare, how to fight with precision, how to use his weapons in battle, and most importantly, how to wield the power of Ogun himself. Among these first warriors was a young man named Adadayo, a fearless and determined mortal who sought to prove his worth to Ogun and his people. Adadayo had heard the stories of the great blacksmith and longed to fight under his banner, to wield weapons forged by the divine hands of Ogun. He made his way to Ogun's workshop deep in the forest, where he would learn the ways of war and be tested like no other warrior before him. "Ogun," Adadayo called out as he entered the sacred grounds of the forge, "I have come to learn, to serve, and to fight." Ogun looked at him for a long moment, his fiery eyes scanning the young warrior's face. "You come seeking strength, but strength comes at a cost," Ogun said, his voice like the rumbling of thunder. "Are you willing to pay that cost?" Adadayo nodded without hesitation. "I am willing to pay any price, Ogun. I wish to fight for the gods and for my people." "Then let the forging of your spirit begin," Ogun replied, motioning to the tools that lay before him. Under Ogun's watchful eye, Adadayo was taught the sacred craft of the blacksmith. He learned how to craft weapons, as Ogun had, shaping metal with his bare hands and learning the discipline required to make them perfect. Each lesson Ogun imparted was more than just about making tools. It was about making warriors. Ogun taught Adadayo to be patient, disciplined, and above all, to never fear the forge or the battlefield. With each passing day, the young man grew stronger, his connection with Ogun growing deeper as he learned the sacred art of war. When Adadayo was finally ready, Ogun handed him his first weapon, a sword forged in the deepest fires of the divine forge. The blade was sharp, deadly, and gleaming with divine light. Adadayo held it in his hands, feeling the weight of Ogun's power flow through him. It was no longer just a weapon, it was a part of him, a bond between the god and his mortal servant. "Go, Adadayo," Ogun commanded, his voice now filled with pride. "You are no longer just a mortal. You are a warrior of Ogun, and with this sword you shall bring forth the might of the gods." Adadayo's heart pounded with the thrill of battle, knowing that with Ogun's weapons he could conquer anything. But little did he know that the wars he would soon face would not be as simple as he imagined. The gods, in their infinite wisdom and pride, were watching, and they had their own plans for Ogun's warriors. As Adadayo and the other warriors marched into the fields of battle, they found themselves not only facing mortal enemies, but divine ones as well. Ogun had forged powerful weapons, but his warriors would soon learn that the gods themselves were not always their allies. Among those gods were deities of darkness, of chaos, and of war, each with their own agendas. The first battle came swiftly, a clash between Ogun's warriors and the forces of Olokun, the god of the sea, whose waves were as mighty as the storms of the heavens. The ground trembled beneath the weight of the armies, and the air was thick with the tension of impending violence. Adadayo, with his sword raised high, led the charge. The weapons Ogun had forged for them were unlike anything the mortal world had ever seen, and with each strike, the forces of Olokun were pushed back. The power of Ogun flowed through the warriors, their every movement guided by the blacksmith's divine touch. The battle raged on for hours, but Ogun's warriors, with their unmatched skill and divine weapons, emerged victorious. However, the victory was bittersweet. Olokun, though defeated, vowed vengeance on Ogun and his mortal followers. It was then that Ogun's pact with humanity began to show its true complexity. While the weapons were powerful, the gods were not so easily swayed, and the balance of power in the divine realm was shifting. The battle between Ogun's warriors and the divine forces of Olokun was only the beginning. As Ogun's mortal followers continued to wield his divine weapons, they faced new challenges. Challenges not just from other gods, but from within themselves. The pact Ogun had made with humanity, while empowering the warriors, also drew the attention of other powerful deities who did not look kindly upon the mortal realm's newfound strength. The gods, ever watchful and territorial, saw Ogun's influence spreading like wildfire, and they feared what it could mean for the balance of power in the heavens. One such deity was Shango, the god of thunder and lightning, who ruled with power and pride. He was known for his mighty temper, and though he respected Ogun, he felt threatened by the growing power of Ogun's warriors. Shango's anger would soon test the very foundations of Ogun's pact with humanity. "You, Ogun, have given too much power to mortals," Shango said one day, summoning Ogun to his grand palace in the sky. "Your warriors grow stronger with every victory. They threaten to challenge the gods themselves. How can we allow this?" Ogun stood tall, unwavering in his resolve. "The mortals are not my enemies, Shango. They are my allies. They fight with the weapons I forged to protect their people, to defend the land from those who would see it destroyed." "But the balance is tipping," Shango roared. "If we allow this to continue, the gods will no longer rule. You have made a grave mistake, Ogun, and I, Shango, will not stand by and watch the gods lose their place." The tension between Ogun and Shango was palpable. It was clear that the pact Ogun had forged with humanity was now stirring the pot of divine politics, and the other gods, who had once stayed in the background, were starting to move. But Ogun, who had always valued strength and honor, stood firm. "I will not take back the weapons I have given them, Shango. The mortals deserve the strength to protect themselves, and they have earned it through their courage, their loyalty, and their fight for freedom." Shango, unwilling to back down, summoned a powerful storm. Lightning crackled in the sky as the winds howled and the heavens darkened. "Then face my wrath," he bellowed. The clash between Ogun and Shango was nothing short of catastrophic. Thunder roared, iron clashed against lightning, and the earth itself trembled beneath their divine fury. Ogun, wielding his own crafted weapons, met Shango's storm with fire and steel. The two gods fought with the fury of the ages, each determined to prove their right to command the future of the world. But even in the midst of this fierce battle, Ogun realized something. His warriors, the mortals he had given his weapons to, were watching, and they were learning. They understood now that the gods could be challenged, not just with the strength of the body, but with the strength of the heart, the courage to rise against even the most powerful forces. It was this realization, this shared understanding between Ogun and his mortal warriors, that led to a resolution. Both gods, exhausted and bloodied from their battle, stood silent for a moment. The storm died down, and the earth calmed. Ogun, ever the blacksmith, extended a hand to Shango. "Perhaps there is a better way forward," Ogun said, his voice softer than before. "We do not have to rule alone. The mortals have proven themselves. Let us guide them, but let us not control them. Let them live, fight, and thrive as we have." Shango, looking upon Ogun's hand, hesitated, but after a long moment, he clasped it, his thunderous heart beginning to calm. "I do not agree with your methods, Ogun, but I see the value in your warriors. You have shown me something I did not expect." Thus, the gods reached a fragile truce. Ogun's pact with humanity had shaken the foundations of divine authority, but it had also revealed a deeper truth. The strength of the mortals, when guided by the gods, could lead to a new era, one of balance and mutual respect between the divine and the human. Ogun's pact with humanity is a powerful myth that carries deep cultural significance, especially in Yoruba tradition in West Africa, mostly in Nigeria. It speaks to the values of craftsmanship, strength, and loyalty, virtues that are still deeply ingrained in many African cultures today. The pact Ogun makes with humanity also highlights the importance of self-reliance and the respect between gods and mortals. In Yoruba culture, there is a deep belief in the interconnectedness of the divine and human worlds, and Ogun's story teaches us that we must find balance between the two. The myth encourages us to value strength and wisdom, but it also reminds us of the importance of humility, cooperation, and the responsibility that comes with great power. Which African myth would you like to learn more about next? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the fascinating stories from the rich world of African mythology.